your host, Christene Marie. Y'all, tonight's conversation, we are diving into how your business can rank on Google and what specifically can contractors do about it. I want to take a couple different angles to this conversation because, I've got the hat of being a fourth generation leader and partner. My brother and I joined as partners in 2021 of the family business. He and my dad are still kind of co-partnering these days. And I really stepped in on the business strategy and marketing side. And so I've got that perspective. And then I've also got the perspective of being CMO for a multi-million dollar business, a couple of them. I've got the perspective of running not just B2C, but also B2B. And then also, being the homeowner and being the end customer. So I want to talk actually from each perspective around what contractors can do on Google, because there's, we're talking to contractors both where their end customer is, a homeowner, and then also the end customer is actually a business referral or another business itself. So those are two very, very different audiences, and they engage very differently online. So I want to talk about both audiences from that perspective, but also talk from the actual owner perspective as well. And then finally from the consumer perspective. So first, let's talk B2B. A lot of folks are hesitant, and I've talked to a number of B2B leaders in the trade surrounding their Google business profile and about their website. I actually get asked that a lot of how important is our website? How important is our digital presence when so much of what we're building is relational? And I love that question. So good to ask. And for one industry, it might be, maybe we're all B2B, but we're going to be different industry to industry. So we need to take that into consideration. But we actually ran a survey for them among their top customers. And we asked, what was the website important? Was the digital presence important? And what we found was that it did matter early on, when they're just really starting to get to know you. So let's say a business development manager is at a networking event, hands the card, the individual actually goes, looks up the business development manager and looks up the company. And that really is, yes, the first impression came in person from a real encounter, but then the second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th impression, until you have that coffee or that lunch and learn, however long it takes to actually get your foot in the door, to get on their RFP list, there's a long amount of time where they're only engaging digitally with you. What does your LinkedIn profile look like? What does it say? What does the website say? What if they look you up on their mobile device? What's that experience like versus going to the website? And then what actually shows up on Google ranking? So they're going to type in the name of your business and it's going to populate. Most people are using Google. People are starting to, and it's more so consumers are starting to use ChatGPT and other type of really, really common AI tools for searching. That's a whole other conversation, but just, people are actually starting to say, one of our clients actually said, hey, my homeowner told me, I found you on ChatGPT. I asked for verified painting businesses and it recommended you. That's awesome. But when you're doing business to business, they're not searching you on there. They're searching you on Google for the most part. I will say Microsoft Bing has also been a pretty good place for us when we're running ads for our customers. We'll actually test out Microsoft Bing. And there's a lot of people using Microsoft, especially bigger trades organizations that have a really good and solid CRM or even just email system and database. Microsoft is really sophisticated for its Office suite of tools. So if you've got Microsoft already embedded in your day-to-day, you might just look on their search bar. So for example, I have an Apple computer. Most actually of the trades businesses that I've worked with, they're actually using Microsoft products, both for their email and then also they're buying an Android and they're using other non-Apple products. So that's really important, because then when you're thinking about where are we actually paying to advertise, don't just think Google. Think beyond that. Google only owns, I think it's 40% of the digital real estate online. There's a lot of other places to play. And that includes digital billboards, but it's also other search engines. So coming back to this, for if you're in business to business, we'll get to business to consumer in a moment. If you're in business to business, you are inevitably going to be researched. You're going to be looked up, as you should be. We want that. So then the question is your profile ready to be seen? One of our clients, we started working with them and they had 3 Google reviews, which isn't necessarily bad, but they only had 2.5 out of 5 stars. That's bad, because if you only have a handful of folks leaving a review, but they all stink. For example, one of the reviews was, and this is actually for another client, they said, I saw them driving recklessly on the road. You can actually go to Google and say, hey, this isn't applicable. It's not about our service. However, that's still a damaging aspect to your reputation. Even if it's not about your particular service, that's an issue. So take stock, pretend to be the customer, sit in the customer's position, even if it's B2B. Go and research yourself. What does your profile look like? And ideally, use another computer, use a different browser. I will go, usually I'll actually use Chrome, but sometimes I'll go to Safari and it doesn't have much search history because I just never use it. So it's able to give me a pretty fair estimate of, okay, how does Christene Marie show up? How does Foundation First Marketing show up? Am I showing up high in the rankings? Is my Google business profile showing up at all? Because what I've been seeing more and more, people who are paying to play on your Google business profile. So now let's switch over to B2C. So business to consumer. Y'all, if you're not paying to show up in Google results, that is a big problem. Especially with AI overview of what Apple is putting forward, it's really actually quite hard to find the actual Google business profile. I've been struggling with that literally the last week. It's really bizarre. They've completely revamped their interface, and it's no longer intuitive for organic ranked companies. And the difference is that organic, you're not paying. You've done work on the back end. You've got content on your website. You're posting on your Google business profile. You're getting ranked by your own effort rather than your own dollars. So everyone who's paying is getting shown first. And even then, you might actually not get shown in that first. It's called kind of like a packet. Like the first 3 are in a packet, and then it'll show another packet of people. And what I've been seeing that's really interesting is that they've been showing a lot more paid organic, where it used to be the top 3 that paid and then all the organic ones. But now they're filtering all the paid ones in. So the thing I don't like about the paid, well, I'll actually talk about this tomorrow. We'll talk about paid traffic tomorrow. Let me make sure that I don't have a show with somebody because I want to talk about this tomorrow. Let me make sure. Great. All right, let's talk about this tomorrow. We're going to talk about paid Google ads because that's, after all, what Foundation First does. So we'll talk about paid advertising tomorrow and just some tactics there, because y'all, I am seeing paid companies just as frequently as I'm seeing organic companies. And that hasn't been the case with Google. They've really done a good job being fair, but now there's a way overemphasis on sponsored companies. And it's also hidden under the AI overview of what AI is offering for the top companies in your area. So that's a B2C perspective. For the actual company owner, I really want to lean into this because there's a lot that you can train your salesmen, your project estimators to do without you having to pay Foundation First, without you having to pay a vendor. I was talking, I'm meeting with a company next week. And when I was submitting my proposal to them, they're really, really excited to start investing in organic, which I'm so grateful to hear. But it depends on the type of organic. One of the first things I did as CMO for another business was I got in and I interviewed every single vendor, and we ended up firing their organic vendor. They were ranking fantastic nationally. They weren't a national company. They were hardly ranking at all in their local area. So when you're looking at Google, it's not just enough to say, oh, look, I'm getting all these, look at my analytics. The analytics look great. How are you ranking in your local community? How are you actually showing up? Taking this approach of actually going in and seeing what and how you show up from a consumer perspective. Yo, I've gone into literal gas stations and talked to people to get an understanding on the market, like what's the market? Do they understand us? That was real boots on the ground market research. I think more of us need to be doing that. So from the owner perspective, I was just chatting with my dad 2 days ago around setting up a more formal framework and process for having our guys go and hang door hangers. We're not doing that anymore these days. A lot of folks are just relying on digital tactics. When you're in a neighborhood, blanket the neighborhood. So there's digital and physical tactics that we need to start doing when we're on a job site. 1, physical, blanket the neighborhood. 2, on the digital side, take a picture of the job before and the job after. Before you leave that person's home, post on your Google business profile and say, hey, it was such a privilege serving Susan King today. Here's the before and after picture. We were able to polyjack her concrete. And within 2 weeks' time, we were able to have this done. Within 2 days' time, we met on time, the project deadline on time. We were able to get this done before her family's graduation party for her son. It was such a privilege serving Susan. And then in real time, so then now we're in person. So digitally upload the picture, show Google, hey, I'm physically here in this geographic area. It can track where you're uploading pictures from. So the geographical boots on the ground part is actually really, really important to strengthen your reach in terms of geographical territory. Then hand the phone over to Susan and say, Susan, would you be willing to leave us a review? She goes on through her Google, she can do this on her phone. She goes on and she leaves you a review. So pretty much within a 10, 15, 20 minute period, you're posting about the job and Susan is posting about the job. That shows Google that there's a customer interaction happening and both are 5-star. Both are really, really positive. You as the estimator, you as the even the project lead, you're posting about the service you offered. You're posting about where you serviced the area. You're posting about project timeliness, how you stayed within budget, how it was cost effective. She was able to save. All of those aspects that I just named are all keywords. They're all things people are searching for on Google. So the more you're doing that, the more important it is. Now, finally, from the customer perspective, I am going to, as the customer, call through the top rated Google companies, companies on Google. So are you actually getting those rankings? Are you actually getting good stars? But then next, do you actually have strong back-end support to answer those calls when they come in? Because what I've seen more often than not, we're actually putting forth the dollars, and we're beating the pavement to make sure that you're found. But man, oh man, do we lose a whole lot of leads if we're not having good phone support. And y'all, please, please, please. I know that I'm even going to have a conversation in the next couple of weeks with somebody who does AI voice support. And I'm curious. I'm excited to learn. Right now, I really don't like that idea. People want to do business with people. The more we can use AI for the manual, laborious tasks, the better, so that your people are freed up to be people, to go above and beyond, to follow up and say, hey, how's your evening? Did you have a chance to look at the proposal? Hey, I know you had your graduation this weekend. I just wanted to check in. I know we finished the job, but I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you. How did it go? Brian, Wayne, good to see you guys. Brian says, how important is advertising? So now I will say, if you're early stage, the dollars you spend on advertising, that's an important question. But man, the advertising piece is so, so, so critical. And Brian, it depends on, again, who's your audience? Are you B2B or B2C? If you're B2B, I'm finding more and more that if I am establishing relationships with other B2B folks, going to events, speaking at events, really making sure that I'm showing up physically and doing the digital follow-up. Like I've got this whole stack of business cards that I haven't done follow-up well yet. But the more that we're doing that, and then for business to consumers, please, 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 please figure out where your audience is. Where do they spend their time? And again, I've beaten the streets. If you have a customer list, you can ask those folks like, hey, we're actually, like, if you've got customers that you know, you trust, you love, I would go after them. That's one of the first things I'll do when I'll start working with the business, is that I will actually get on the phone with their top 10, 15 key stakeholders. and I'll find out where they spend time. That's the best market research. So go physically out on the street, ask people. I went to a diner one time, a gas station one time, just kind of going out and literally talking to people, but then also doing the digital surveys. That's so helpful. There's a lot of market research with like Nielsen reports that you can get from marketing vendors. That's helpful. But man, the more you can actually get into, this is why the psychology of, I love talking about emotion-driven marketing, because the more that we understand who they are, the more we can actually resonate with them in our messaging and our advertising, because we're not about selling, we're about connecting. And when they feel a connection, but it has to be genuine, when they feel the connection, they're so much more likely to do business with us, because the connection is ultimately our differentiator. So y'all, thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a wonderful evening. We will talk tomorrow on Google Ads. I'll talk to you soon.